where's this guy? And he went into McDonald's. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to McDonald's now. Alright, so then he goes up to the counter and he's like, hey, can I get a cheeseburger? And the lady's like, well, I don't know, can you? And then the guy was like, well, I don't know, I asked you, didn't I? And then the lady was like, well, I suppose, but you have to pay for it. And the guy was like, wow, that's kind of weird, but okay. And then, so he pays, he's like, okay, here's some money. Now how much is it? And then the lady's like, I don't know. And then the guy was like, okay, whatever. So he goes and sits down. He's like, la 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 la. And then the lady was like, hey, mister, you totally have your hamburger now. And he walks up to the counter and is like, hey lady, can I get my hamburger now? And the lady was like, yeah, sure, right here. And gives him the hamburger. And the guy was like, hey, you put my hamburger in that other guy's bag. And the lady's like, oh yeah, I did. So the guy goes down and sits in frustration, roar! And then he's like, wow, I'm pissed. So he throws a hat across the room. And then something happened that he had no idea what would happen. So he figured out who the guy was who stole his hamburger. And he's like, guy who stole my hamburger. Bam! I'm totally gonna punch you now. And he totally hit him. And he was like, yeah, this is my hamburger. So he took the hamburger out of the other guy's bag because it was his. And he paid for it. And then he put it in his pants. Then he drove home in frustration. And he crashed his car into the chimney. And then he gets out of the car, he's like, oh, crap. I crashed my car into the chimney. So he gets out and hops down the chimney. And then he ends up in the fireplace and his wife's like, Santa Claus! And he's like, no, it's me. And he's like, oh, I thought you were going to be more exciting. Oh, well, I'm sorry, honey. But, yeah, I'm home now. So, yeah. And then his wife was like, hey, why do you have a cheeseburger in your pants? And the guy was like, oh, well, I'll tell you. So first, I went into McDonald's, and I went up to the counter, and was like, hey lady, can I get a cheeseburger? And she was like, yeah, but you have to pay for it. I was like, okay, here's the money. How much is it? And she's like, I don't know. So then the guy got his cheeseburger and was like, hey, you gave that other guy my cheeseburger. And then he sat down in frustration. He was very, very angry. Was like, roar! And then he figured out who the guy was and went over, stole his cheeseburger, put it down his pants, crashed the car into the chimney, went down the chimney, and then I ended up talking to you. Pretty interesting, huh?